Happy Thursday! It is the Ringer Gambling Show brought to you by FanDuel. I'm the prop queen, Ariel Epstein. We've got week 8 on the horizon in the NFL, week 9 in college football. Major League Baseball is entering the World Series, and the NBA has begun. NHL is in action. It is the sports equinox, and no one better to break it all down than my two co-hosts, Raheem Palmer and John Yastrzemski. Raheem, it is the time of year that I know you love the NBA. What storylines have stood out through the first couple of days?
You got a lot of NBA storylines right now. You got Victor Wembanyama looking like the combination of the Dikembe Mutombo and Steph Curry at the same time. You saw his MVP odds go from 18-1 to almost 3-1 at this point in time. He's second in MVP odds, and he looks like a straight up alien out there. Then you got VJ Edgecombe dropping 34 points in his debut game. So it looks like the Sixers have a deadly combination of VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey. And then you got my guy for the Bulls. I don't know if you guys saw my video the other day, but Matas Bazilis. I mean, this guy can be the most improved player. He had 21 points the other day. He is an emerging star. So the NBA is in a great place right now.
This is the Ringer Gambling Show presented by FanDuel, and if you're betting on the NFL, FanDuel's the place to do it. They've got everything. Same game parlays, quick bets for when you want to jump in live and your way so you can set your own lines. The app's fast, it's easy to use, and best of all, when you win, you get paid out instantly. Download the FanDuel app or go to FanDuel.com/gamblers to get started. Must be 21 and older, and present in select states are 18 and older in D.C., Kentucky, and Wyoming. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut.
Yeah, Wemby, 40 points, 15 boards against the Dallas Mavericks, picking up the 125-92 win. The Spurs looking good. Hey, it was a massive disappointment last year when the Spurs lost Wemby because getting De'Aaron Fox, this team looked like a playoff team. I'm excited to watch them this time around. Also excited about those Knicks, Mr. New York, New York. JJ, how'd they look last night to you?
Oh, fantastic, Ariel. I was glad I had the Knicks +1. They take care of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and what a concept. They played 11
You're repping.
guys.
I'm shocked you're wearing your Yankees hat,
I
but
had
you're
the
repping
quarter.
the Knicks.
Well, listen, I'm in a very New York, New York motif, and I'm in a good mood because the Knicks hit my first wager of the year, and, you know, they were switching like crazy on defense. Mike Brown playing a bunch of dudes, and it's a nice start to the year, but it's finals or bust. But I'm glad Raheem mentioned Mr. Wemby. This guy is all over the San Antonio Spurs over for the year. So after watching them on Wednesday night against the Dallas Mavericks, if they can keep Mr. Wemby upright and healthy for the better part of 60 to 65 plus games, I feel really good about cashing that ticket.
I really am high on the Spurs this year. Also high on some of these revenge spots. Shout out Chris Middleton yesterday getting revenge on his Milwaukee Bucks. He went over his 12.5 points prop. I also saw a couple of days ago, I went over 4.5 rebounds for Kevin Durant. He's been averaging 7 to 8 rebounds on openers for his season. And that number at 4.5 felt very low. Now, granted, you have to share the boards with someone like an Alperon Şengün or Jabari Smith Jr., it didn't matter. We had over 4.5. I think he had 7 on opening night for Kevin Durant. But tonight, it's week 8, Thursday night football. Chargers taking on the Vikings. The Chargers laying 3.5. I saw this go from like 3.5, and total 44.5. JJ, how much you buying the home favorite?
So there's big injury news that cannot be overlooked in any way, shape, or form. Joe Alt, who is without question one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL, a guy who has not played in quite some time for the Los Angeles Chargers, has made it crystal clear all week, I am playing in this game against the Minnesota Vikings. And before the start of the week, I got to be honest, I thought I was going to be backing the well-coached Minnesota Vikings who, you know, moved it up and down the field against the Philadelphia Eagles, outperformed the Eagles on the stat sheet, but couldn't finish drives, had a lot of wacky things go against them, and ended up losing that game at home. I thought I was going to be on the side of Minnesota grabbing the points. I'm not. I like the Chargers here because, to me, with Alt back in the fold, it changes what the Chargers can do from an offensive standpoint. It gives Justin Herbert a little bit more time. It allows those wide receivers, McConkey, Keenan Allen, the emergence of Arondé Gadsden. Those guys can go and do their thing. I didn't even mention Quentin Johnston. And when I look at it from a Minnesota perspective, Carson Wentz is a quarterback. And you want to tell me he's moved the ball? Great, but that's the Carson Wentz experience. He's going to move the ball. He's going to have the back-breaking fumble. He's going to have the critical interception. And I think the market moving from 3 to 3.5 should tell you something here, gang. It just goes to show you can't lock in these picks all the time on Monday. We got the news now. It's Thursday. I'm on the Chargers. I'm laying 3 in the hook.
So I initially liked the Vikings as well. But I'm looking at this and it just feels like a rough spot for the Vikings. I mean, you're talking about a Vikings team that has to travel multiple time zones on a short week. And I always think that's just a bad spot. Short week, Thursday night football, you're on the road. But I'm not particularly fond of this Chargers team either. I mean, you look at this Chargers team, they've lost 3 of the last 4 games. And the games that they did win in their last 5, they needed game-winning field goals to win them. So it just feels like this Chargers team is so banged up that I don't know how you can really trust them. And, the Vikings, they're coming off a game in which, they only punted once all game. They were 1 of 6 in the red zone. I think you get some, better red zone luck. And I think the Vikings probably win that game and you probably get a different result. My model actually has this at Chargers -2. So if you're getting a 3.5, I think there's some bargain there. I'm actually going to play this differently. I'm going to play the over because I look at this. I look at this Chargers team with their banged up offensive line. They haven't been able to run the ball. They're going to be throwing. And you saw last week, the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. I mean, they threw all over this Vikings team. Jalen Hurts probably had his best game of the season. And I expect Justin Herbert to be able to throw all over this Vikings defense as well. So I think this is an over. Let's go over 44.5 points.
Ariel, before we continue, I want to make something crystal clear. I like the Chargers at 3.5. It's on the FanDuel Sportsbook site with some juice. You got to lay the -120 for those of you listening, for those of you watching. But it is -3. So when we get that wonderful graphic up, if somebody throws in a JJ pick on Thursday Night Football, or hey, if we're reposting this and JJ's giving out the pick, I just want it on record. It's -3, okay? So we got that taken care of. There you go.
-3. Listen, I've been waiting for the Chargers to have some kind of great game. And last week I thought it was coming because 2 weeks ago against your Dolphins, that was a close call, 29-27. Last week, I liked them against the Colts. I wasn't buying Indianapolis. The Chargers were in a great spot last week at home when they've been playing a lot of games on the road, and they blew it. They lost 38-24. It looked atrocious. Thursday Night Football at home in LA. I do like the Chargers, and I actually like them enough to think Justin Herbert has to stop throwing the football. So I like under 35.5 pass attempts for Justin Herbert tonight, the quarterback of the Chargers. He went under in 4 of 6 games when facing teams back to the start of last year that are top 10 against the pass. And that's Minnesota. Second least pass attempts per game this season. 67% of quarterbacks to face Minnesota have gone under their pass attempt prop. Because Minnesota at least you can kind of like run them down a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. I think that's exactly what the Chargers will do with Kamani Vidal and take him over on rush attempts. So that means less pass attempts for their quarterback. Run the football against Minnesota, dominate time of possession at home, and Herbert doesn't have to throw. So under 35.5 pass attempt. For me, that number just feels a little bit too high. Anytime touchdown scores, I know that we do that here at The Ringer. And we get a text, by the way, from our guys at The Ringer. And every Thursday, they're like, hey, we need for the graphic for Thursday Night Football, anytime touchdown scorers, we need someone. JJ was like the first person to answer in that group chat. Why are you so confident?
Ariel is the reason. I know you are the prop queen, and I always defer to my queen. Always, always and forever. However, there's been some change in royalty underneath you. The prop prince has risen
Are
from
you
the
prop
ashes.
Prince or anytime touchdown Prince?
I'm
Oh,
gonna
wow.
go. I should be the anytime touchdown Prince, but the prop Prince just rolls off.
Well,
the
there's like the
tongue
Duke
better.
of, like there's so many Dukes.
If you want to
You could
have a
be the Prince of certain markets.
how about this? If you want to have a ceremony for me and like knight me like they do, like Paul McCartney or any of these dignitaries in London, I am more than happy to have the ceremony later on in the year when the three of us are hanging out like the Super Bowl or something. So, listen, you all right? We have been red hot with the anytime touchdowns. I think I gave out 3 last week. All 3 hit. Jonnu Smith hit. Darnell Washington hit. Jamar Chase, which obviously is an easy one. I'm not going to really flex on that one.
We actually swept the board last week,
board.
all of us, because I think I had Noah Fant.
You did, which was a great payout, by the way. That was like
plus 440. Plus 440. And we actually rolled that over. And on Sunday, on our Sunday pregame show, I had Jake Ferguson. So the tight ends have been hitting, a ton.
Well, on that subject, Raheem, I like to give out one for each team. I'm giving out 2 tight ends. His anytime touchdown props in this game. Ariel, you like this one? Rondé Gadsden, Syracuse's finest. He has become
Homer.
No, it's beyond that. He's become a favorite target of Justin Herbert. He's gotten a lot of volume. He's gotten a lot of action. Tight ends in the red zone make sense. Rondé Gadsden, a little under 2-1 to score tonight. I like that. And then TJ Hawkinson from Minnesota is at plus 220. So I'm looking at the tight ends that have been good to me in the past. And that's where I'm seeing anytime touchdown potential, Raheem. Are you going back to the tight end well or no?
I'm not going back to the tight end well at all. I mean, I'm not really in love with anything, but if I had to take anything, I would take Quentin Johnson plus 170. I mean, you saw what that Eagles offense did last week. I think they can replicate that. So let's go with Quentin Johnson.
Oof, I don't have anybody yet, but I'm gonna try to find somebody for the graphic.
You better hurry. That graphic's going up soon, so you better go. Let's go here.
I know. Listen, it's like the hardest time of year because we've got football, baseball, basketball, hockey. I'm doing everything over here.
You're doing hockey too.
Yeah, no hockey for me. I opt out of hockey.
Well,
Sorry.
I bring guests on my show on the Prop Queen Pod.
See,
I bring
smart.
guests on.
You're smart. There you go.
But I do NBA, MLB, and NFL. MLB gets a little bit easier with time. Raheem just texting in his anytime touchdown, so he got that in quick. I'm going to try to look one up. But we've got so many sports to break down at this time of year in the sports equinox that I feel like I'm working 24/7. But it's a fun time. Obviously, it's great that we do this for a living. World Series, Game 1 tomorrow, guys. I'm so excited. It is Dodgers, Blue Jays. I feel like the world is on the Dodgers. They are hefty favorites going into Game 1. And like we always say, it is hard to handicap games when you don't know both pitchers. The Dodgers are throwing the lefty Blake Snell. There's a chance, according to MLB Network, that Kevin Gausman goes tomorrow. At the moment, Dodgers minus 154, road favorites in Toronto. Jays plus 130 on FanDuel Sportsbook. Total 7.5. Raheem, where would you go with betting this World Series, or are you abstaining until we know both starters?
I think you just lay the Dodgers minus 1.5. For the series.
For the series.
Yeah, I think that's the way I'm going to approach this. I think this is over in probably 5 games or so.
How about, how you could bet these? So for people that are looking at the Dodgers, let's just say, because I feel like it is a play that a lot of people have talked about. You could win Game 1 with the Dodgers and the series at even money on FanDuel.
That's a good bet. That's a real good bet. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad. I do like that, but I do.
Why are you so confident in the Dodgers?
They're the Dodgers.
Huh.
I mean, you got a guy over there in Ohtani who is striking out 10 batters and hitting 3 home runs. I don't know. It just
Listen, I understand your confidence. The Dodgers look like a runaway freight train, right? Because their starting pitching has been absolutely dominant. Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Ohtani. They have Sasaki, who has straightened out the 9th inning for them. And they have a lineup full of pedigree, where it's their big guys, the Freemans, the Ohtanis, the Betts, the Hernandezes of the world, combined with guys who just show up in October like Tommy Edman and Kike Hernandez, who are just going to go and hit, even though they won't wow you in the regular season. So, Raheem, I get what you say. Listen, they're the champs. They're better than they were last year. They're making quick work of Toronto. They're going to win the series. I just don't get the sense it's going to be easy. I think Toronto will put up far more resistance than anybody has so far as matching up and giving the LA Dodgers a series. The Phillies, they couldn't hit. The Blue Jays can hit. And what I like about this Toronto team, gang, they put the ball in play. They do not strike out a ton. That is going to be an absolute must in this series. So, do I think the Dodgers find a way because we're on the verge of back-to-back champs for the first time since my Yankees in the 90s? Yeah, I do. I think the Dodgers are going to win the series.
Wouldn't that be so fitting that the two empires of baseball are the last two to win back-to-back World Series?
Yeah, before all hell breaks loose next year when you have these small mid-market teams trying to shut down the sport. But Ariel, I want to play this a certain way. Over 5.5 games. I think this series this series goes at least 6. I think Toronto's going to win one of the first 2 games at home. I think they will get at least 1 at Chavez Ravine. And I think the Dodgers are going to win in 6. So you can find over 5.5 games. Got to lay a little juice here. Minus 162. I think this series goes at least 6 games.
So a lot of people were telling me in the last series for the Jays, George Springer over runs allowed, which is now, we opened that at plus 120, and now it's minus 160. I don't even think it's going to hit as much because that was a matchup thing. This matchup, it bodes really well for Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman has gone over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI in all 3 of his last 3 games in Toronto and 5 of the last 6 when facing the Jays. He hit safely, Freddie Freeman, in 11 career World Series games. All 11 career World Series games, Freddie Freeman has hit safely, batting .310, homering in 6 of his last 7 World Series with 7 straight games with an RBI. So that's plus 191 if you want Freddie Freeman to drive in a run. And Vladdy, by the other, for like his numbers aren't great against Blake Snell, so I'm probably not going to bet this game 1. Vladdy over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI has cashed in 70% of his home night games against lefties. But I think he's like 0 for 5 or like 2 for 10 or something against Blake Snell. Just very bad numbers. But Vladdy has been doing very well at home. And to JJ's point, Toronto's hitting .296 this postseason, averaging 6.5 runs per game. JJ, Bo Bichette's going to be back, and he was hitting really well. 311, 18 home runs, 94 ribbies this season. How much is it going to mess up the team because now Bo Bichette's joining this lineup that's been on absolute fire?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know what you can expect out of Bichette not playing baseball now for a month and basically inserting him back into the lineup and saying, all right, big boy, go get him. It means no Isaiah kind of Falefa, though, Ariel, and I'd rather see Bo Bichette than Isaiah kind of Falefa. 2 guys that can't get lost for the Blue Jays, though. Ernie Clement, who has been an absolute pain in the ass, and I say that in the most complimentary way, puts the ball in play, been a major spark plug for Toronto all season long. The other guy that can't lose sight of is Andres Jimenez, the former Cleveland Indian Guardian. He's played some really good ball, too. One note, and I know we don't know who the game 1 starter for the Blue Jays is going to be. They, as a lineup, have had their way with left-handed pitching. They've hit really, really well against lefties. We saw that in the regular season with the Yankees.
No, it's going to be a total just like heavyweight versus heavyweight. Snell has been amazing, 5-0 with a sub-1.
Oh, Snell has been so lights out. He's pitching great. I mean, he's been worth every penny for the Dodgers. But I actually think that you can make an argument. There's some value in taking Toronto in game 1 because Toronto played a game 7. They're a little fresher. They're in baseball rhythm. Dodgers have not played a game since Friday, right? So they haven't played a game in a week. A little bit of a layoff there. I never love that. That always scares me a little bit. And Toronto's lineup against the lefty, it's been pretty good all year. In fact, gang, let's lock it in now. I'm playing the Blue Jays in game 1. Let's go.
Well, you could get the Blue Jays in game 1. You could also get the Blue Jays to win game 1 and the Dodgers to win the World Series, and that's close to 3-1.
Ooh, you know what, Ariel? Now that you presented that to my attention, let's add that to the portfolio. I'm in. Let's go.
World Series, game 1 starting tomorrow, a little after 8 p.m. I think it's an 8 p.m. start tomorrow.
8 p.m., yep.
Yeah, 8 p.m. start tomorrow in Toronto, 2-3-2 for the World Series. Let's go into a break right now, and then we're going to dive into more of the NFL Week 8 slate coming up after the break for our podcast audience. For everybody watching on YouTube, like and subscribe here at The Ringer. We really appreciate it. And send us your thoughts. Give us your plays. We go back, we look at the comments, and we will make sure to follow along on social media. We love to get all the interaction with everybody. Welcome back to our podcast audience here on The Ringer. It is the Thursday Ringer Gambling Show brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Ariel Epstein, John Yastrzemski, Raheem Palmer. Week 8. So excited. Or week 8? Week 8?
Week 8. I can't
It's
even
definitely
keep
week
The
eight.
track.
rundown
You know
said
what,
week
Ariel?
7,
I
and
never
now I'm like,
remember.
wait,
Who
have I been
cares?
saying week 8 this whole time and it's week 7? No.
No, it's
Okay,
week 8. You got it right. There you go. Don't
All right,
second guess
week 8.
yourself.
Week 8 games. Looking forward to betting these ones. There are 3 pretty big games. Your Dallas Cowboys taking on the Denver Broncos, Raheem. The Cowboys, I mean, this game's going to be interesting because you've got a really good defense up against a very bad secondary. Denver laying 3.5. That one also went from Denver -3 to -3.5. The total went from 47.5 to 50.5. How you seeing those Cowboys, Raheem?
Yeah, I actually like the Cowboys here. I actually have this at Denver -2. And the biggest thing, and we spoke about this on the Monday show, is that you cannot lay margin with this Broncos team. You can't do it at all. From a down-to-down perspective, this team really, really struggles. You're talking about a team that's 28th in offensive success rate, 41%. So if you have a 41% success rate and you struggle from a down-to-down perspective, I think it puts you in a spot to where you laying 3 and a hook against a Dallas offense where Dak Prescott is having an MVP caliber season. I think it puts you in a bad spot. And I actually think that the Cowboys are live to win this game outright. And you look at the Denver Broncos, they really struggled against this Giants defense. They really struggled against the Jets defense. I mean, the Jets were giving up points to everybody, and Bo Nix still couldn't put it together. So you ask me, the Broncos kind of have to prove it to me. I actually like the Cowboys in this game +3.5, and I think they win this game outright.
I'd go the other way here. Here's my problem with Dallas. I saw them a couple weeks ago go to Carolina and lose a game outright to the Panthers. They have been a very schizophrenic, up and down team. It feels like you're week in and week out so far this season. Don't get me wrong, Raheem. Dak Prescott has played amazing football. And you're right. It is the matchup of the offense that's humming and firing on all cylinders against a Denver defense that, statistically speaking, is one of the best in the league. Was vulnerable last week against the Giants. Didn't play well last week against the Giants. I just, twofold here. One, don't believe in the Dallas defense. And I think you'll have more success and more offensive, explosive nature type of plays from Bo Nix and company. They'll be better on that side of the ball. I think what you saw at the end of the Giant game, you're going to get more of that for 4 quarters against this Dallas defense. And I also could see this being a game where Dallas turns the ball over once or twice. And market is moving with the Broncos because clearly they had it at 3 and they moved this line right up to 3.5. I think it's a Broncos spot, and they burned me last week. They burned us in 107 because you're right. Big margin, meaning a touchdown, 6.5, 8.5. Raheem lectured me, and he's right. Don't take those Broncos with those big spreads. At 3 and 3.5, I think it's a different story. I like the Broncos in this game.
I always like to take a better defense, and I don't trust the Cowboys defense at all. Last week, although the Broncos did allow the Giants to put up 30 plus, I still believe in the Broncos offense to be able to score on this Dallas defense and Denver's defense to be able to hold them. And remember, the Denver Broncos did hold the Giants enough to the point that they were able to make a comeback instead of just, letting the Giants continue to score and outpace them. But anyway, I'm going with the prop. Bo Nix, over 36.5 yards for his longest pass. So it's around -110. He's gone over this in 75% of home games since the start of last year. Last year, averaged just over 43 yards per longest catch at home. 6 of the 7 quarterbacks to face Dallas went over their longest pass prop. The Dallas Cowboys secondary has been so bad, so we are going over on the longest pass for Bo Nix at home in Denver, 36.5 yards. The Green Bay Packers taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a primetime game. Green Bay laying 3 in Pittsburgh. Total 45.5. Oh boy, who wants to start with this one? Because I think, okay, JJ, go. You seem excited because this one seems really messy to me. I feel like everyone's going to be loving Green Bay this week. And the Steelers catching points at home, it seems kind of enticing.
Ariel, I don't love Green Bay. I'm all over Aaron Rodgers getting his revenge against his former team. And Raheem and I love, and we've used this phrase a lot over the last couple of years, a Mike Tomlin rah-rah spot. Well, buddy boy, this is a Mike Tomlin rah-rah spot. Off of a loss.
A bad
extra
loss.
time to
to
prepare.
Cincy.
Horrible loss that we nailed last week. I like Cincy in the game. I told you guys they were going to be spunky. I told you guys they were going to be live. And I know Pittsburgh's defense has problems. And people are going to look at the Green Bay team and they're going to say, wow, this is the best team in the NFC. You know, it's interesting. Metric-wise, they grade out well. The eye test would tell you otherwise. There's something that has been missing. They're a playoff team. They're going to win the double-digit games. But I have reservation for a team that barely got by the Arizona Cardinals last week. Didn't play great in that game. Found a way to win it late, great. But you barely beaten Jacoby Brissett. And now all of a sudden you're going to go on the road again for the second straight week and take on an inspired Steeler team. And old man Aaron Rodgers is putting up points. I think there are going to be a lot of points in this game. Raheem, I'm sure you're going to get to that. Maybe this is a play you're going to make. But I think the Steelers plus the 3 and the Steelers outright is the way I'm looking at this one. I think it's a big time statement game for the Mike Tomlin, Aaron Rodgers-led Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, so I like the over in this game. I think that's the way I want to play this more than anything. I'm not really impressed with this Steelers defense. They have not been good all season long. For whatever reason, I don't know if they're getting old, but you're talking about a team that's 25th in EPA per play on defense. And I think Jordan Love is going to have probably one of his best games of the season. And you mentioned it, JJ. It feels like this Packers team, they're almost being power rated as if they're a juggernaut. And you saw them, they go out there in week 1 and they step on this Lions team. But since then, they truly haven't been great. Now, I do think there's potential for this team to be a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense, but they haven't necessarily showed us that outside of the games against the Lions and the Redskins. So I don't really want to play a side here. I'm like projecting that this Packers team has a different level, and there's a different tier that they can get to, but they haven't gotten there yet. Obviously, Mike Tomlin, he does perform well in these spots. So this is kind of a stay away from me, but I do like the over. I think at 44.5, this is really, really short.
I'm looking at Pat Freiermuth, the tight end for the Steelers, to go over his receiving yards prop. He's gone over in all 4 primetime games dating back to last year and 5 of his 6 primetime games last year. 4 home primetime games last year, 5 of the last 6 overall. And the Packers allow the most receptions per game and 10th most receiving yards per game to tight ends. So Pat Freiermuth, definitely a look for me. Jordan Love over 31.5 pass attempts. He's only gone over this once this year. It was primetime in Dallas, throwing 43 times. Yet in primetime road games last year, Jordan Love went over in 5 of those 7 games. So I think Jordan Love in a close game is going to have to throw on the road in prime time. He'll give me the over on pass attempts for Jordan Love going into Green Bay and Pittsburgh. I'm excited. Giants, Eagles. I feel like we knew, the Eagles right now are laying 7.5, total 43.5. Duh, because the Eagles got absolutely embarrassed by the Giants 2 weeks ago, 34-17. The Giants pick up the dub. The way I look at divisional rivalries, especially when they play within a month of each other, whatever happened the first game is not happening again the second game. JJ, do you believe the same thing?
In this particular case, yes. Yes, I do, Ariel. And I want to take everybody back to early October when these teams matched up. The point spread for Giants-Eagles at MetLife Stadium was 7.5 points. Well, here we are. It's a couple of weeks later. The Giants are getting 7.5 at Lincoln Financial Field against an Eagle team that's going to have Jalen Carter. And they did not have Jalen Carter the first time these teams matched up. So you throw in, Ariel, the revenge element for Philadelphia, which I think is super queer and is super obvious. You also have to throw in, to me, a massive hangover potential for the Giants after what happened last week in Denver.
The last
That
2 weeks, nonetheless.
no question. But the Denver
Yeah.
game specifically, right? That is ready-made to order. That's a win. Now, all of a sudden, you yuck up a 20-point game with 6 minutes to go. You make NFL history. Brian Dable's getting destroyed. They didn't have a kicker. Total hot mess. I know laying margin this year, Raheem, with the Eagles has not been pretty. It hasn't. They have not been a team that's laid the smackdown the way they did in years past, specifically the way they did last year. But in theory, this has got to be an Eagles spot. I mean, there is no, I'll tell you this. It's not one of my favorite plays on the card. I could definitely get there with Philadelphia. There's no way I'm getting there with the Giants. No way. To me, this is Eagles or pass.
How much is Dabble's career on the line right now?
You know, it's interesting because the Jackson Dart progress is his saving grace and his calling card. But if you're going to have more nightmarish losses like the one we saw on Sunday, it puts you firmly in a position where it's like, wow, can this guy be the coach? So, yeah, I mean, listen, I think the Giants got to come out and play well. It's a bad look for Brian Dable if they don't. But, Raheem, there's no way I'm getting there with the Giants in this game. I can't do it.
So I think a big part of that loss to the Denver Broncos were the injuries they suffered in the secondary. You look at starting safety Javon Holland, he went out. Top cornerback Paulus and Adebo, they both left the game in the second half. And when those injuries happened, that's when the Broncos defense got going. Unfortunately, neither one has practiced this week, and I don't think any of them are playing. You look at Deonte Banks. He came in for Adebo.
Oh, he's a stiff, Raheem. He's embarrassing. Oh, my God, Banks stinks.
They basically picked on him, and that was, to me, that was the difference in the game. You know, those two guys leaving, Banks coming in, and them picking on Banks was the reason why, you know, the Broncos won that game. And obviously you have a turnover there, but I do think this is an Eagles spot. I mean, you look at that first Eagles game, and obviously the Eagles had 2 turnovers. You had, you know, the Eagles were down, they were down 10, and it looks like they're going to cut it to 3. And Jalen Hurts throws one in the flat, and he gets picked off, and it's basically a pick 6 because it leads to a touchdown. I think, you know, if the Eagles don't turn the ball over here, I think the Eagles are in a prime position to lay the smackdown. I mean, you said it best. This line was 7.5 in New York. It's tough for it to be 7.5 in Philadelphia. And I do think the Eagles have kind of figured some things out. You saw last week, Jalen Hurts, he had one of the best games of the season against Minnesota. And I think that carries over here. So I would lay it with the Philadelphia Eagles.
There is one way I'm playing this game and one way only. And I have been waiting for this moment because I knew if it wasn't going to happen 2 weeks ago, it was happening in Philly. Jalen Hurts going over 29.5 rushing yards. I already bet this. Minus 114 on FanDuel. It's going up. He's gone over this in 10 of 11 home games dating back to last year, averaging 50.5 rushing yards. It's been the home road splits for the last few years with Hurts. He doesn't run much on the road. He runs a ton at home. Saquon looks like he's hurting. He's averaging, Jalen Hurts, 15 yards less a game on the road. Only ran for 13 yards in the last game against the Giants. The Giants allowed the 4th most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks. 5 of the 7 quarterbacks to face New York have gone over their rushing yards prop. Jalen Hurts at home, over 29.5 rushing yards. This number is way too low, guys.
I think so, too. And you know what's been wild, Ariel? The markets for Jalen Hurts anytime touchdowns have been getting absolutely slaughtered because I think for a whole lot of people, when they're putting together these SGPs, when they're betting props, it's been like, hey, when in doubt, tush push. Hey, when in doubt, Jalen Hurts going to score. We have not had that same magic. Yeah, and when you face a potent defensive line, it's going to put more onus on Jalen Hurts to say, you know what, I don't want to sit in the pocket as these guys are coming after me. I'm going to step up, use my legs, take 7 when I can, take 10 when I can. I love that. I am all over that too. I'll play it with you. Let's go. I'm blindly tailing. I didn't put the research in for the props in this game. You did. That's why you are the prop queen. I'm in. Jalen Hurts over rushing yards. Let's go.
Hell yeah. So those are the big 3 games coming up this weekend. It was a really tough week for props. I was looking down the board.
Tough week for props. Ariel, I'll take it a step further.
Tough week. There's a lot of injuries to talk about, a lot of uncertainty on the board. Raheem, when you look at this board going into week 8, which teams are you sitting and waiting on before you find out more news? Because we've got a lot of guys who are out or questionable.
I mean, this is a tough week in general. I mean, you got 6 teams on a bye week. So it kind of feels like you're kind of grasping for straws. I think the biggest one that I'm looking at is the Baltimore Ravens. And I want to know if Lamar Jackson is playing, because to me, that feels like a smash spot with the Ravens. I mean, you look at this Bears team, they're very similar to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, they start the season off pretty solid. And the biggest reason why is because they've been able to generate turnovers. Well, on this win streak that the Bears are on, they've been generating 3 turnovers a game. We know in the NFL, teams who win the turnover battle, they win 70% of the time. When you get to, a +2 and a +3 and sometimes even a +4 turnover differential, I mean, that number skyrockets to the 90% range. So I don't think that's going to continue here against the Ravens, particularly if Lamar Jackson is playing in this game.
Can I give you one where injury to me means everything? And it sounds crazy because the game is not particularly juicy. It's the Jet-Bengal game. Gang, if Tyrod Taylor's the quarterback, the Jets have a much better chance of covering and, dare I say, pulling an outright upset. If Justin Fields is the quarterback, I am going to be all over the Cincinnati Bengals because Justin Fields and Woody Johnson is an idiot and says a lot of stupid stuff. And if you're somebody who's a fan of New York Jets, it's going to make you absolutely sick to your stomach. That said, he's right about Justin Fields. Guy can't complete the forward pass. Tough to win when your quarterback can't complete the forward pass. So, you add all of that up. Cincinnati and the Jets, maybe monitor who that quarterback is going to be. And Aaron Glenn, very non-committal and going to make everyone and their mother and their brother and their sister sweat it out maybe until Sunday to figure out who it's going to be.
Listen, friends don't let friends bet the Jets. However, I saw a really interesting stat. The Jets' point differential is -54, Cincy -78. So there's really no reason for Cincinnati to be laying 6.5 points. They're just not good enough to be laying that hefty of a number if you're going to bet the numbers, which I know is what Raheem does.
So it's so funny. My model actually has this Bengals -6.96.
Wow.
Yeah.
Justin Fields plays, and not in a good way, Ariel. That's why. The model accounts for Justin Fields.
And I have another model that has this 5.79. So it feels like the market is right on, but I do think you're going to see some sharp money on the Jets just because this Bengals defense is amongst the worst in the league. And if Tyrod Taylor plays, I mean, obviously you're talking about a quarterback who is the most profitable quarterback against the spread in NFL history. Like, I'm not making this up.
Wow, is that the case? Wow,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's very I mean, you got to think he's always a dog. He's almost always a backup. And a lot of the public doesn't want to bet for a backup quarterback. So you generally get value with Tyrod Taylor.
Hey, between Tyrod Taylor and Tyler Huntley, I don't know why we're not just betting it on these like mobile quarterbacks as backups, because clearly the book can't get a handle on them. But we love talking props.
I know one thing: I will not be betting on this Jets team with Aaron Glenn. Like, as long as he's head coach. I mean, they've been profitable. I mean, in certain spots. Obviously, we did have.
They weren't last week, although Raheem, the market loved them and made him a favorite by kickoff. Think about that.
God.
They were a favorite by kickoff against Carolina, and I'm proud of myself, gang. Because old JJ would have seen that Sunday morning and would have said, "Oh, the books know, Vegas knows, I'm betting the Jets." And then I stopped myself right before we started to do the Ringer Sunday pregame, and I go, "Nope, friends don't let friends bet the Jets."
We had them against the Buccaneers, and it took an act of God for them to cover that game. So it's I'd rather just stay off this team.
I agree.
Staying off the Jets. We've got props to talk about. I already mentioned the Jalen Hurts one, but here for Queen's Corner, Jalen Hurts over 29.5 rushing yards. I like Saints running back Alvin Kamara over 19.5 receiving yards. I feel like I keep going back to the well on this. He's gone over in 2 of his last 3 home games against Tampa. Caught 3 catches for just 1 yard last week in Chicago. He should bounce back in the passing game. Tampa's allowed the most receiving yards per game to running backs. In that same game, Tampa's quarterback Baker Mayfield under 245.5 passing yards. Listen to this, guys. Thanks to Props.Cash, I found this stat. In the last 10 road games without wide receivers Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, Baker's gone under 245.5 passing yards in 9 of those 10 games, averaging 174 passing yards per game. So that does make up for a lot, losing those 2 receivers, and now Tampa having to go on the road to New Orleans. Miami's quarterback Tua Tagovailoa under 202.5 passing yards. This is just following a trend that no quarterback has gone over their passing yard prop yet against Atlanta. And Tua has not had a good season. He's gone under in 3 of 4 road games, and Atlanta allows the least passing yards per game to quarterbacks. Lastly, Carolina's running back Chuba Hubbard over 44.5 rushing yards. He came back from injury last week. He's gone over in 78% of home games dating back to last year, averaging just under 86 rushing yards a game. Hubbard had 73 rushing yards in his only home game this year, which was against Atlanta. Bryce Young doubtful with an ankle injury, so Andy Dalton, all the props are out, so it looks like he's under center. And Buffalo allows the 3rd most rushing yards per game to running backs this year at 116. So with Chuba Hubbard at home, I would take him in the ground game because he's got a backup quarterback that's probably under center with Bryce Young hurt. Any of those stand out to you, JJ?
Yeah, I want to hit on Tua, obviously, under 202 passing yards, so 202.5. I'm right there with you, Ariel. This is a guy who was leading the league in passing just 2 years ago. He is so broken. His habits now are so bad. You have to imagine Miami in this game against Atlanta on the road is going to say, we have to run the football. We have to establish Devon Achane as much as we can, knowing full well that Atlanta is going to look to run it like crazy against one of the worst rush defenses the league has to offer. So, some people are going to say, hey, Miami might trail in the game. That means Tua is going to throw a ton. This Dolphin offense, they just can't keep them upright. They don't have Tyreek Hill. Now they lose Darren Waller. I love this one, Ariel. Under 202.5, sign me up right now. And the other one that you gave that I'm going to give an endorsement to, and it's crazy because he's been so good to me. He's had such a great season. And people are going to be like, Baker Mayfield under after a rough game against the Lions? No, I think with the injuries for the Bucs, they're going to be a little bit more conservative in this game. I get that sense. I get that feel. That means you may not have as much explosiveness from Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. So out of the props you gave out, listen, right now you're getting a lot of endorsement from your boy. Tua and Baker both going under. I'm in.
Raheem, any standouts for you?
Yeah, I like the Alvin Kamara over 19.5. I think this Buccaneers defense leaves a lot to be desired. And I mean, we saw what the Lions did to them the other night. And I do think Alvin Kamara will be that safety blanket. So that one stood out to me.
Okay, so it seems like you guys like majority of them, and you guys gave the okay on Jalen Hurts over rushing. So I'm really excited about going and betting those early. Get ahead of the lines, everybody. You know that they all love to move. What we love to do is pick winners. And just an update, Bodega Locks, I was just getting the graphic up. We're 18-17 on the year, which is tied with the Team Ringer Fantasy. Last week, not so great, which means we are due for a bounce back this week. Ringer 107 coming up next here for our podcast audience. If you are watching on YouTube, subscribe and like here on The Ringer. We really enjoy getting all the interaction from you guys. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page here at The Ringer. Ringer 107 time, and if you want any show to listen to, it is here on Thursdays, the Ringer Gambling Show. We are still in the lead for Ringer 107. It is brought to you by FanDuel. It's our pick'em contest all football season. Shout out to us, Bodega Locks, Sal and DeBundo, Fantasy Guys, Bill Simmons, and House and Chill. We are doing all of our picks every week. We pick 5 a week. The way that we do Ringer 107 for Team Bodega Locks is each of us gets to pick one team, one spread that we like the most, and those are locked in. Then the last 2, we're going to argue over and see which we agree upon. So I'll start with you, Raheem. Who are you throwing out there for our Bodega Locks pick of the week?
I'm going with the Cowboys plus 3.5. I know you're not going to like this one. I'm so sorry.
I don't.
I just think that hook is it's time for the Broncos to lose a game. It really is. I mean, I think they've been playing with fire the last 2 weeks against the New York teams, and I think this is a desperation spot for the Cowboys. I know they won last week against the Commanders, but you got some people out there talking the Cowboys could win the NFC East.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that.
I think it starts here.
They got a better chance for him than Washington does. I'll give them that.
Washington is kind of cooked because I think there may be some RG3 type vibes with Jaden Daniels. I mean, you've been saying it. You said at the start this year. I don't know if he can stay healthy. Well, right now he doesn't appear to be healthy.
The vibe is off at Washington. Excellent point. Listen, let's hope you're right on this Cowboy game, please.
Okay, so we're
I
going
really bet
Cowboys.
I really bet on my own. I don't think I've bet on my own team.
You never do, so that's why I have to give it more credence here.
Marley's
we got a Marley sighting. Hi, Marley. This
Marley,
is going to bring
make
good.
A pick?
Well, Marley already likes that we gave out an underdog, so I feel like I have to do the same.
It's a very ugly week. It's not. I mean, like anything that you pick this week, it's not like a lot of people are going to be like super duper confident. It's an ugly week.
No, it's a
What
very
spread
tough
are we
week.
locking in? What is the number on
3.5
plus 3.5.
Okay.
Cowboys plus 3.5. JJ, who's your pick?
My turn. It's another game we talked about. Pittsburgh Steelers plus the 3 against the Green Bay Packers. It's Mike Tomlin getting the boys ready to play. It's Aaron Rodgers, who statistically has played really well, and I thought played a very sound football game against the Cincinnati Bengals last week. And I'm just, again, this is where I'm not going to let the eye test fool me here. I've watched Green Bay a lot. They have not played like a premier team. Sorry, they may grade out like one. They have not played like one. I think this is a bad spot for the Packers on the road for the second straight week. I think the Steelers have them ready to go. See that dog right there, Ariel? That's Marley. We just gave you 2 dogs right now for Bodega Locks. So I know Marley likes the sound of that. So we got the Cowboys. We got the Steelers. Your turn.
Okay, I hope you guys don't hate me for this, but I think it's time to go with my Ravens again. I think we go bet Lamar and the Ravens. Here's the thing, I didn't touch on this. As a Ravens fan, I know Lamar Jackson does not practice on Wednesdays. The fact Lamar practiced yesterday on a Wednesday was very telling. If he doesn't start, I will be shocked.
Same. And the line indicates he's going to start. Let's be honest on this.
It moved 2 points already in their favor.
6.5.
So
They're basically
the Ravens are going up against the Bears defense that's the second worst against the run. And you have Lamar, Derrick Henry. The Ravens know they have to win this game or else it's, I want to say over. But if the Ravens can win this game, win it outright, win it like -7.5, -6.5, whatever the spread is, -6.5, I think is what it is right now. The Ravens, you feel like they have a pulse. And this is the easiest part of their schedule. They had a really tough schedule before the bye week. Against the bad run D, they have no excuse but to run time off this clock. I think Roquan might be back. I have to double check Roquan Smith, but everyone's talking about Lamar. I have to double check Roquan. So I would go with the Ravens in this spot. And if not, then we never will pick them again.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I hinted at this earlier, but when you look at the Chicago Bears over on their 4-game winning streak, they forced 15 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Ravens don't turn the ball over, and not only have they forced 15,
big if, but yes.
No, I mean, but I'm just saying, not only have the Bears forced 15 turnovers, they've won 2 of those games 25-24 by a combined 2 points. And then last week against the Saints, they won 26-14, and the Saints had 4 turnovers. So, like, Lamar Jackson should stabilize that offense. And I think it's very telling that you have a 1-5 team laying 6.5 points to a 4-2 team. And if Lamar Jackson is ruled in, this line is going to go to 7.5.
And we get to lock it in on Thursday. And we're going to lock that in. I love it, Ariel. I love it. Baltimore was definitely on my card for the week. So that's a big time check mark.
Cowboys, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Who wants to throw out the next suggestion?
Oh,
I got one that's really, really ugly.
Okay.
Really ugly? Let's hear ugly
I expect
first.
you guys to hate it. Houston Texans.
No, I don't. Raheem, I don't. I don't hate it because it's been a lot of smoke and mirrors for the San Francisco 49ers. And they're super well coached. I know the Texan offense is embarrassing. I guess the only concern would be it's a short week for them, having to play that Monday night game in Seattle. But this is such a desperation spot for that defense. Mm-hmm. That defense, let's be real about this now.
I mean, how many times are we going to keep betting against San Francisco? Because I keep waiting for them to crash and burn.
So here's my
we
logic.
Haven't bet against them a lot, though, Ariel.
Not us, but I just mean in general. I've been looking every week against San Francisco because how much longer can this? I don't want to say luck. It's talent. The coaching staff is talented. They're winning with all these injuries. It's crazy.
So here's my logic for the Texans. we know the Houston Texans, they have an abysmal offensive line. It's awful. Well, the San Francisco 49ers, since losing Nick Bosa, since losing Fred Warner, they don't generate a lot of pressure. They're actually dead last in pressure rate, 11.9%. So, and they only have 9 sacks all year, which is 30th amongst NFL teams. The only teams who have less sacks are the Jaguars and your beloved Baltimore Ravens with 8. So my biggest thing is if you can't put any pressure on CJ Stroud, then the weakness of that Texans offense, which is the offensive line, I mean, you're not attacking it. So I
How
think I think the Texans should be able to, their offense should be able to get going against this
What
49ers
if Nico
defense.
Collins is
And
out
then
with that concussion?
I mean, I'm not even concerned with that because I
Okay.
think the biggest weakness was if you look at that game against Seattle, the biggest weakness was they couldn't block. Well, that won't be an issue this week, and I think the on the other end of the field, you're looking at a Super Bowl caliber defense for the Texans, and we know Mac Jones isn't very mobile, so I think this is a get right spot for the Texans. I think it's probably a lower scoring game. Maybe it's a contrarian over. I do see some people out there playing it, over just on a contrarian tip, but I think the Texans should be able to win this game. I mean, that's just one I'm throwing out there, but we can
No,
see.
let's put it in the check mark. I like it,
Mhm.
so I'm not going to talk you out of it. Here's one I want to throw at the two of you. Buffalo Bills laying 7.5 against the Carolina Panthers. I think this is such a great spot for Buffalo. Such a great spot for Buffalo. They're coming back off their bye. They lost the Monday night game against Atlanta. And people are talking up Carolina. Raheem, I know we've had some spirited debate on this, on the idea that they can get themselves back in the NFC South race. I'm not there. And I kind of look at their offense being able to keep up with Buffalo's offense. And I don't see it, guys. I think Buffalo is going to lay a smackdown in this game. I think this is a must-have spot for McDermott and company. I think Buffalo by double digits. I normally laying 7.5 on the
And
road.
Bryce Young's doubtful.
Well, I
So
was going
Andy
to say,
Dalton.
you could make the argument they're better off with Andy Dalton. I do think there's some debate in that and some merit in that. This to me is not even, this is a pro Buffalo spot more so than it is an anti Carolina spot. I just think Carolina off a couple of wins, Buffalo kind of licking their wounds, needing a, hey, we're still Buffalo. We're going to be heard from this year. This game kind of reeks of that sort of spot for the Bills, at least the way I see it.
Yeah, I can definitely see this. I definitely can see this.
My only fear is how bad the Buffalo run D has been, and I get a little worried about Carolina running the football on them
It's
and
fair.
covering at the
Listen,
end of the
Buffalo's
game.
defense has not been good. It
And
was
not that I trust Panthers,
to
but
be
Mhm.
fair, it was better in the second half against Atlanta. If you go back a couple weeks ago, and I had Atlanta in that Monday night game
The,
against
the
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 Bills.
one concern for me is that they do have the Chiefs next week,
So
but I
it's
mean,
like a look ahead spot, but they need a win
but
here, Raheem.
they do need a win here. They're coming off of the fact that they're coming off of a loss and coming off of a bye indicates that they'll probably be focused. But
This
it's
is a
just
game
one of
they
those
got to
things.
be. This is a take no prisoner game for the Bills. The Bills have a couple of games like this during the year where they just bully a team. I kind of think this is a bully Bill spot. Again, put it on the ledger. I like Buffalo in the game. Let's keep it moving. What else are we thinking, Ariel?
the only other line that really stood out to me this week, which was mostly about injury correction, not so much about sharps and pros versus Joes, but we did see a 2-point move against Tampa Bay. And I know that JJ's going to hate going against Baker, so I'm sure he's going to count this out. But the line went from -6.5 Tampa on the road to -4.5 in New Orleans. And I do think New Orleans can get to Baker, limit him in the passing game, and the Bucks aren't really a good run-heavy offense, whereas the Saints can take advantage of the Bucks defense by using Alvin Kamara out of the backfield. I kind of like the Saints. I think Spencer Rattler, even though they've played a little messy, I don't like if you look at the stats, he's playing pretty average football, and I don't know, I think the Saints 2-point move in their favor, ugly team. It's a very small card, so it's very hard.
I
It's
feel
very
like
hard.
we've taken the Saints way too
I know,
often
and we've
this
lost
year.
on them like every time.
Well, no, we had them against the Giants. That was
Oh,
good.
fair.
The
Fair.
Patriot game, we did not. I actually think you're on the right side of the game. I don't love it though. Like if we're being
Yeah.
fair, I don't love it. Can I interest gang in the Eagles?
You can interest me. I think that they destroyed the Giants, but That's
I
out
also
of
have a little PTSD from fading the Giants last week, so I don't know if I want to do that again.
I just wish we could get a 7.
And we
Like,
can't.
and I think that's the biggest thing. It's a tough week though. I mean, it's really, really,
Well,
really.
because you have all these teams on buys, Raheem. That's the problem. You got all these buy teams, so it's a limited.
and half the teams playing this week have massive injuries.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I don't know if you can expect the Chiefs. Like, I mean, the Chiefs are 11.5 against Commanders. I'm kind of throwing that out. At some point, it's just,
So many.
yeah, it's just like you're
Same
laying so
thing in
many
the
points.
Tennessee game, 14.5 point spread. Like sometimes it's just too many points and I'm not laying double digits. So that's a no.
You
I
know what's so
think,
funny? I actually, if there's a game to lay double digits, it might be Colts Titans.
but it's 14 and a half, dude. It's such a big number.
Yes.
Like, do we want to be laying 14 and a half? I for one, do not.
I don't.
No, it's too many points.
Houston, Buffalo, New Orleans, and Philly are the 4 we've given out so far that we're deciding between.
Well, Baltimore's it. We're in on Baltimore. We're in on.
What's
We're
your
in on the
thoughts about- what's
Cowboys.
it-
We've
I
got
got another one we're gonna throw out.
Yes.
JJ, what's your thoughts on Atlanta?
Here's
but
the
we don't
prob-
know. Is Michael Penix going to definitely play?
Yes, that's my problem with the game.
But Kirk Cousins might be the best backup in the league.
Fair. And you want to tell me Miami has mailed it in and Miami has quit? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. In theory, you're right. Atlanta should win that game. It should win that game going away. But they're a weird team to lay margin with, Raheem.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely weird.
And here's, as far as spot is concerned, if there's still fight left in the Dolphins after last week, they would fight this week.
Yeah.
The question I have they completely checked out on McDaniel? Have they completely checked out on the season? I, for one, don't want to get involved with that one.
It does feel like it feels like you're selling Miami totally at the bottom. And it's just like,
Yes.
I mean, how much worse you have to ask yourself, how much worse can it get? And I'm just not sure. So,
And offensively speaking, the Cleveland game notwithstanding, the Colt game notwithstanding, they've moved the ball.
yeah.
Like last week, I mean, that was weather, good defense, game got out of hand. Like I could see Miami scoring 20 points in this game. Let's put it that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It definitely makes sense.
So I want to lay off that one. It's too big a number for me.
Okay.
I really want to take Buffalo.
I'm gonna ride with you because I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy in love with anything this week.
And Ariel, I think I want to take the Texans. Can we get you on board with these or no?
You can get me on board with them. I don't have any. It was really for me. I think it was between Texans, Philly, and Buffalo.
All right, so those are
I
our
definitely
three.
don't trust Carolina. I get a little worried about that run game, but Chuba Hubbard hasn't been fantastic this year. New quarterback essentially under center with Bryce Young out, so Andy Dalton having to take over. So, yeah, we could do Houston -1.5 and then Buffalo -7.5. It gives us 2 dogs, 3 favorites.
I like it. Nice balanced card. I'm in.
Okay, Cowboys +3.5, Pittsburgh +3, Baltimore -6.5, Houston -1.5, Buffalo -7.5.
Wow, the marquee games, Raheem. Your Cowboys, my Steelers. Let's get it done.
Let's
I
do it.
like it.
Ariel, I love the
Yeah.
Ravens this week. So I feel good. I think that's the one I feel the best about that we've all given out, by the way. And I didn't even give it out. Just saying.
Prayers up for my Baltimore Ravens because guess who already committed to going to the Ravens game on Thanksgiving? This girl. So
Nice.
I am stuck watching
You'll have
them,
a
whether
pulse.
they're in
Don't
it or
worry.
not.
You're not the Dolphins. You'll have a pulse. You'll have a pulse.
Okay. When your team has Super Bowl aspirations, it's very hard to watch. When you go into a season knowing your team, you hope at least is at 500, maybe they could like break into a wild card spot. Cool. But when my team, the Ravens, had Super Bowl aspirations and they are worse than the Browns in the AFC North, I have a problem with that. Today's Ringer 107 brought to you by FanDuel, odds subject to change. For anyone that hasn't been paying attention, the NBA has begun. We've got 2 days under our belts. We've got a big weekend ahead in the NBA. Earlier in the show, we talked storylines. I had a few props that the numbers were wrong. It's been nice to take advantage of the books early in the season. We've got players in new places, so the books haven't really caught on yet. Raheem, how are you going to attack the weekend in the NBA?
Let's go with the Golden State Warriors -2 tonight against the Denver Nuggets. This line has actually moved off of, I mean, I think Nuggets actually opened as the favorite, but I think the Warriors are the rightful favorite here. I think this Warriors team right now, they're a mini juggernaut. And, I like the moves and I like the additions that the Denver Nuggets have made coming into this season. But, this is their first game of the year. This is the Warriors home opener. And like, since the Warriors traded for Jimmy Butler last year, they had one of the best defensive ratings in the league, 109 points per 100 possessions. And we did play them the other night against the Los Angeles Lakers. Pretty easy work. The Lakers didn't really put up much resistance, but I like the addition of Al Horford to this lineup. And I think Jonathan Kuminga has truly finally found his way inside of this lineup. I think Jimmy Butler, I mean, you saw it the other night. He went to the free throw line 16 times. And Steph Curry didn't even have his best shooting night. Just 6 for 14, 3 for 9 from three. I just think this is a Warriors team that I really want to back. In their home opener, I'm going to back them again. So let's go Warriors -2.
Raheem, there are two teams tonight. Sorry to cut you off, JJ, but there are
That's
two
okay.
teams tonight that are playing that played already against two teams that haven't played. So you've got OKC who already played, you've got Golden State who already played. How much do you factor that rest versus rust into your handicap?
I don't factor it in too much. I mean, interestingly enough, that Thunder Indiana Pacers game, I wanted to play the over, but I mean, as we sit here now, I mean, this number has gotten bet up. I mean, you're talking from 229 to all the way up to 232.5. And I can't in good faith give out an over 232.5 when we saw 229s in the market. So it's unfortunate, we're taping this, at 9:53 Pacific Standard Time. And, this numbers just kind of got away from us. But I do like the over in that game. And you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, they really struggled to hit open jump shots the other night. And I think some of those will fall. So I did like that over, but I can't recommend it.
JJ, anything in the NBA? Maybe the Knicks playing the Celtics?
No,
Anything
I'm glad you
thoughts on
brought
that?
up that Warrior game, Raheem, tonight. I like it as well. Really impressed by what I saw Tuesday against the Lakers. Think it's telling the line's gone from 1 to 2 or 2.5. I think the Warriors are the right side in the game. You mentioned Knicks Celtics. I actually think the Celtics plus the 6.5 Ariel is a good bet. I know they look defensively challenged against Philadelphia and losing last night, but they have a bunch of guys on that team that have a comfort level playing at Madison Square Garden. Remember, Knicks dealing with a lot of transition as far as injuries are concerned. They will not have Josh Hart. They will not have Mitchell Robinson. Who knows if they're going to tread lightly on Karl Anthony Towns, and maybe there's some load management earlier in the year. I mean, he was a game-time decision on Wednesday. He does play. Do the Knicks and Mike Brown now go and say, hey, Cat, we're going to give you Friday off against the Celtics? 6.5, I think that's a good number. And I won't be betting this one. I don't bet against my teams, but I see 6.5 with the Celtics. That stands out. I'll give you another one that stands out. Everyone's going to bet San Antonio after what they saw from Wemby. They're only laying 2.5 against New Orleans. That one stinks to the high heavens. Watch New Orleans go and win that game. That's just, you got to be careful with those crazy overreactions after one. And I love the Spurs. I think they're going to have a really good season. Be careful jumping the gun after the opening night overreaction. So New Orleans at home might be frisky.
Yeah, we even saw it yesterday. I remember thinking in that Bulls game that I thought it was a little strange that was such a short spread, and look what ends up happening. So, be careful of those fishy lines in the NBA early on in the season, especially. Anything else you guys have to add before we get to best bets?
No, I'm ready for best bets. Let's go.
Let's do best bets here at FanDuel Sportsbook. It could be anything going into the weekend. It could be for tonight. We've got Thursday night football. We've also got a lot of NBA coming up this week. Major League Baseball, the World Series is tomorrow. I'll start with JJ. JJ, what's the best bet?
All right. I'm going to give you 3. I know. I'm in the giving spirit.
3?
That's right. Well, I'm giving you a Thursday
Did
night.
we pay for that?
Well, I'm giving you a Thursday night game. I'm giving you a World Series pick, and I'm giving you a game on Sunday. Chargers laying 3 against the Minnesota Vikings. Joe Alt being back is the difference. World Series, over 5.5 games. Gonna have to lay a little juice on this. If you don't want to lay the juice, Ariel brought up a great suggestion. Blue Jays live in game 1, Dodgers to win the series. I like that too. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers, Mike Tomlin, plus the 3 against the Green Bay Packers. Those are my best bets.
Yeah, I'm going to Golden State Warriors -2. I already listed all the reasons why earlier. And I'm going back to the well on the Warriors. So that's my best bet for tonight.
My best bet, I'll give it to you for Sunday. Jalen Hurts over 29.5 rushing yards. Usually what happens in the first game doesn't happen again the second game. The Giants and Eagles just played 2 weeks ago. Jalen Hurts rushed for 13. He's going over 29.5. He is averaging 50 rushing yards a game dating back to last year at home, going over 30 plus in 10 of the last 11 home games that Hurts has played. Saquon looks like he's hurting. We're going over 29.5 rushing yards for Jalen Hurts up against those New York Football Giants as 7.5-point favorites. The next Ringer Gambling Show is going to be tomorrow. Cousin Sal, Danny Heifetz, and Anthony DeBundo will be joining the show. They'll also give their Ringer 107 picks, but we're still in the lead. We're still in the lead. Bodega Lux. It's us. We are the front runners. They try to take wins from us, and they can't. Any parting wishes, anybody?
A whole lot of covers. And let's start tonight with the Chargers. But more importantly, Ariel, your Ravens. Don't let me down at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
Well, before we go, we spoke about the World Series. Do you have anything on World Series MVP?
I'll throw a name out. Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
Won it last year. Otani's too obvious. You know what I mean, Raheem? He's too obvious. And I think the Dodgers are going to win the series. I think Freddie Freeman, if I had to give you a dark horse choice, he's so great in the postseason. Kike Hernandez.
I'm going to go with Max Muncy, 20-1.
Okay.
I'm going to take a shot
Muncy, another guy that hits some big postseason home runs. So I don't hate that. Dodgers have some guys who, like, really come to play this time of the year. The Muncies, the Edmonds, the Hernandezes of the world. One of those 3 easily could win.
Okay. I don't have any thoughts on it yet. I have to look because I have to like sift through it. I'm here in New York and we're not allowed to bet the MVP market in New York. So that's fun. I have to
Wow,
go,
that's
like,
crazy.
Lame. Yeah,
It's
true.
so lame. It's horrible. That law has to change. Like, I know it's subjective, but come on, bro. It's a fair game. It's fair game.
Work on
Yeah.
that, Ariel, for my next government candidacy when I run for mayor in 4 years. Or governor, we'll work on
4
that.
years?
I'm just kidding. I'll stay
I
out
was
of
gonna say, I
politics.
didn't know you were so rich. I guess
Yeah.
it's all those winnings that you've got in your pocket. He just doesn't share them. No, I'm just kidding. JJ, Raheem Palmer, I'm Ariel. I've seen the Prop Queen. Thanks for joining us here on The Ringer. We will be back next Thursday to give you more winners. So good luck to those bets tonight. See you next week.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. You must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York in New York.